everyone. Welcome to the Womb Build. We're just building on TPI's recent lesson today on maturity magic. So, welcome everyone. Welcome into the space. So, yeah, let's get right on into it. Anything stood out to anybody that they kind of like? Yeah, I want to talk about this. I know where we at, where our minds at.
Well, I would say thank you for asking the question. I would say the maturity magic. I didn't know what to expect. I try not to go and be like, oh, I know what this is going. I don't think we can ever do that. Shalom, Chief. Thank you for joining us. Shalom, Ora. Um, I really was wondering, like, I was like, okay, well, let's separate it. Like, what is maturity and what is magic? And one of the things I thought immediately was like, just the second word, magic. And I think it was mentioned in the chat, like it always comes with a price. And so then I went back to the first word and was like, okay, well, does that mean like if we are kind of trying to take shortcuts? And this is exactly what Chief actually started to build on or gave the insight on or the message on, was like taking shortcuts instead of going through that maturity process or that growth process, which we know can sometimes hurt. They don't call it growing pains for no reason. When teeth fall out, new teeth coming in hurts. That's why babies cry when they teeth, or your gums itch, or when something is healing, it itches, it hurts. When the skin is stretching, like all of those things. So yeah, like it was very affirming to know, like, okay, to kind of not even it was more like convicting. Where did you take shortcuts, and what were the repercussions of that? What are you still suffering from because you took a shortcut, and instead of moving through the process as you should. No, I should have had it on mute. Instead of moving through the process as you should. And then he also went into like how you fix it, because everybody, well, how do I fix it? He actually gave us the answer to like how we fixed it. Like, you have to really do, like, sit and look and be like, okay, is this what I'm supposed to even get? I want to take a shortcut to something, but is the goal of what I want something I'm supposed to have? Or even if I'm supposed to have it, have I done all the things that I need to do to get there? And I think that was even mentioned in last Strong's Sabbath message, or the one before that. About like whether we actually deserve the things that we want, right? And there were other things like that whole, like, this is your season, this is your time, and it's like, time to do what? And you didn't put in any work. So those were some of the random thoughts that went through my head.
I think
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go.
that's what we do, but this is normally what we do, we double dutch. But when you're talking about wanting something that, like, why can't I have that? I just thought about, like, sometimes people, like, are not even equipped with what they need in order to maintain what it is that they're saying that they want. And like sometimes you want stuff before it's our time. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you don't actually need that. So that was something that just came to mind just now when you said that. You know.
Yeah, that
So,
was actually. Oh, we double dutching again.
I think so. That's all right.
You got it. You got it.
Yeah, just to add on to what you shared, and even Akoti Yafe shared, it's that she says, like, you don't get something to do because, yeah, you could do it. Or, he said that about, even with reference to Risha, like, that isn't that Orisha, and you're not that Orisha or whatever, because you have this thing. You came into the world to learn that quality or to learn that thing. And so, yeah, he says that sort of with the rules, not verbatim. So that those were his words exactly. um, but even when it comes to doing something, it's about learning those skills to be able to do, right? And so then what was very resounding was that portion of the piece where he says that he walks us backward, right? Walks us backwards is like backward thinking. Well, not backward thinking, but thinking in reverse in that, okay, you want happiness. Well, did you kind of gain the wisdom? you want wisdom, but did you gain, like do the work? And so it leads us all the way to the sacred geometry, right? And that's like going internal and pulling out from inside. And I think what is very powerful about that pulling out from the inside, it made me think of um, the command the day perfect seed, because it's the seed that's planted inside of us. Because he early on in the today's message, he speaks about the aligning, right? So that eternal peace, it just bursts out, right? But it bursts out because it's like we're tapping into that soul, and that soul is reflecting. Well, that soul is the seed that was deposited, regardless of what the environment was, or all the mistakes that we have chosen and said that, like, yeah, that's who I am, that's what I'm doing. No, no, no. So it is a big reminder, like even in this time, how we're what we're doing and what path we're on, and how we're seeking to let that internal combustion, yes, happen. I'm putting that word on it. So that way the soul can kind of like rip side, like just tear us up, and like, you know, step into the light kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. I can say for me, I teared up a few times listening. I did. I'm just keep it real. What stuck out to me is when he said like the person that always says they want what they want when they want it type of energy. And I have to say that's one of the lessons like I had to learn, like, no, you don't get what you want. And then being looked and told like, I don't care about what you want. And I'm like, what? I'm not used to getting what I want. Like I don't understand this. Like what? So yeah, this one hit home for me, definitely. And learning like, no, you don't always get what you need. So yeah.
I, what if we get what we want then? Like, if we get what we want, do we
Right.
know what we want? And even if we want what we want, then isn't our wants probably a reflection of what the world desires, or the world program us to want? So then we want our death, we want our detriment, we want ah, oh my God, there was something called the oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it. There's a name that Chief gave, the Rashahim. We want to be the Rashahim, because if we want what we want, then, and we don't know what it is that we really truly need or need to
Mm.
be, want our detriment and our destruction. Like,
Right.
so
And are we being led by the most high in our wants? you know. So we're not being led.
That scripture, Yah is my shepherd, I shall not want. It's like that's the level of maturity. I remember the first time I got that scripture, I didn't understand it. I thought it was like, oh, you follow Yah, and anything that you have a need for, he'll make sure it's supplied. And it's like, that's not what that means. Like, not what that means. It literally means like I'm surrendering, I'm following you, and I have no wants, regardless. Like it is what it is. I'm following you. You know what I mean? And that's true. Even that is that's a mature way of thinking. So
Yeah. And realizing going after those wants have not ended well. It's like, okay, what have you produced as a result of going after things you want out of life? It's like, no, doesn't work.
so it's funny you say that, because I kept thinking about the image um, for the thumbnail. When I read it, I was kind of like doing the what Yafe said, trying to think about what it could be about. And I kept saying, okay, so maturity means like, yeah, you're supposed to have fruits, because there was a fruit in the back. Never mind me. But I think it does turn out to be that, in a sense, like, um, just there's that maturity, then you will look at what fruit the person bears, what fruit I bear. You'll be able to judge based on that.
mhm. Yeah, bringing forth fruit and not chaos. Not you know, man. That part. I think the part when he started off and he was talking about just being easily like swayed, all over the place. Like you never really producing anything if you're always, just going here or going there or wherever if somebody said something and it sounds profound or it sounds better, you're like, yeah, that is true. So now
Mm-hmm.
you're here and now you're over there. It's like that was me. I was just blowing in the wind. I think I said that on one of the segments. I was like, I'm just out here floating, chief. I don't know what I'm doing, So, but I can attest to when he says like having that internal maturity happen. It does take like you really sitting and thinking and analyzing and like, man, like yeah, my actions actually affect other people.
Mm-hmm.
And do I wanna live and be a good person? Like do I wanna be mindful of my actions and the way that I'm moving through the world? Am I bearing fruit? You do start to have those questions, those internal questions. And
Yeah.
so that that's out.
And Master Menelik said, Chief mentioned during the Facing Goliath segment that we crave the things that poison us. Hmm.
Yeah.
That's true. You know what? It also, just to back up a little bit, that blowing in the wind, it also is basically saying like we're not rooted in anything. So when we are that easily swayed, there are no roots. And usually because it's either been like ripped up or it never was. I mean, at some point, um, if it is vegetation, it was rooted to something, but then it came off for whatever reason. Did it fall off because it was ripe, mature, or was it snatched off before it should have been? And so now you just like an apple rolling down the hill or a piece of barley. I don't know how barley moves, but a tumbleweed, rolling in
Hmm.
the dust, rolling in the dust because you don't know where to go because you've been uprooted. Whether you did it, your actions were the result of your uprooting, or well, I guess it would always be that because we separate ourselves from the creator. So there you're not a part of any like a flock. So even if it was thinking of like livestock, like you're kind of that stray sheep that has no shepherd to give you the rod and stuff, say, hey, come back here. Or even if it was something, if it is like vegetation, like nobody's tending to you, you're not rooted in any soil, so you just become a part of that tumbleweed that's wow, 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 wow. That's it, you know.
Oh man. What you call it? And then I thought about also when he talked about like the whole idea or the concept of maturity being linked to like if you accomplish certain things in the world, it's like their standard. It says that you're some sort of mature person, or even like I know you're gonna say something, but I was mentioning, I was like, man, I've learned even with relatives, like sometimes you can be sitting in front of an older person and you're thinking like, yeah, they got it. They've been married, got kids, and all that stuff. And sometimes their mindset is they're still like a 15-year-old. They just have the person who's older, but their mindset that is still not it's not where it needs to be. And I kind of experienced that myself where there was like some growth happening, and
Mm-hmm.
those elders or elders who I was leaning on was like they couldn't hang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So after Hava said that's that spoiled little child who will be tossed to and from, like the tumbleweed you was talking about. 'Cause he up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The yeah,
People
as
with
you were
ripe
talking,
fruit, fine.
Right, person. If they were properly cultivated. Oh, you talking about the elders? If they were properly cultivated?
I don't know. You know what? Well, while we're waiting for that answer, that did make me think of what you said, and also this comment here, the about the Chief always says like there's elders and there's olders. But one thing that okay, she said yes. One thing that I always remember, if the advice is coming from a woman, it's like, okay, well, if she made it, or if words I should say are coming at me from a woman or female, it's like, okay, well, is she made it, like kind of using not to put my culture onto someone, but using my culture to govern myself. So if words are coming at me from a woman who or female who is unmated and you know, and giving advice on something that maybe she has not been through, then I have to like kind of think like, okay, well, where is this coming from? The other thing is, um, and Chief could correct me if I'm wrong, but I do remember Chief has said that women, like we used to be, like we crystallize at the age where we had our first child. And I may have done that wrong, said that wrong, but I'm getting a lot of nods, but y'all nods don't mean nothing. Chief will have to, have to like,
As you're saying it, that's the thought that was going through my head as I was talking about this person. But it was like, yeah, I could see it. Like, if you had a child at 15, then you're probably going to still have the mentality of a 15-year-old.
yeah.
And I mean, at one point it was like, well, if you have a man, if you have children, if you have your own house, your own car, you're paying your own bills, then you're able to stand and say, well, I'm this, mature person, da, 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 da. But it's like the longer you sit and listen to a person, sometimes they reveal like that's kind of where it's at. They're not as sure as you think they are.
Right, right.
I wanted to jump in and just speak to the chaff, like chaff that the wind drives away. Because what's that?
If they were
Go on.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure. I have a tiny screen in front of me. Yeah, no, just being like the chaff, right? And thinking about being on with living life without an anchor, living life without a foundation, right? And not having foundation at all. Um, and I think about I think I mentioned this before. Um, like when I came here and I started studying, it was I'm on one thing, and then I was no, this one looks better over here, so I changed it up. And then this one looks better over here, so that looks good too. So then you end up doing nothing or spinning a top in mud, or like a top spinning in mud, and you're not really going anywhere or doing anything, and then you can't accomplish what you need to for your own for based on what Yah put you here to do. I think I'll share this too. The same is true. At one point, I found myself, and I think y'all heard the story again too, like over and over. I was at a point where I was at a juncture where I was sitting between four different courses and for the ANU as well too, and I had to make a decision, but that speaks to how you could be yanked based on what sounds good or what you think is the right way to be or to live. Somebody said, okay, African spiritual systems is the way to go, and you're like, over there. And then it's no, you're doing the black power thing, so over here. You just get yanked about. And you read it again, you accomplish nothing. And that was the same for me. And I had to, at one point, just pause and choose, right? And choosing was based off of instruction, but it was also based off of something inside of me knowing which was the right way to go, and it offered community versus just somewhere giving instructions, and not really there being family or culture. Well, none of it being rooted in family or culture, So yeah, those are times that I think many people go through, where there's that constantly being pulled from one place to the next. And I think Sequoia and I were talking about this last night after we finished Sabbath dinner. It was just talking about when we try to over intellectualize something, so we constantly think about which is the right way, and we constantly assessing versus like quick, you're given a quick instruction, do it, or the small voice that Chief often refers to as the Most High guiding or saying, "Do this," as opposed to sitting and saying, "Oh, do this, but if I put the bag there, then this might happen and this will topple over. So therefore, I will not put the bag there. I'll put it over here instead." But the truth is, sometimes those things have to happen, and I may be thinking in my mind, "Oh yeah, I foreseen everything that could possibly happen." That's not true. And I think Chief has spoken to that, like that being pride, because then saying the Most High can't teach you anything. So the small voice guiding you can't teach you anything, and you're stuck up in here, and that has been me, you know.
Mm.
And about when we violate laws, we remain immature. So I was like, well, there you go. And peace to everyone in the chat. Aki Jason, Aki Isaiah, Aki El Karar, peace to everyone. I would share this. I had to go back and rewind the live build and just kind of, take note of what Chief said. He said, you'll never be able to obtain wisdom and fix any problems that come up in your life because all of the universal laws and solutions were established by adults. Children have their issues solved by those who are actually mature. And I was like, wow, I never heard it, like that. And it just like stuck like, wow, like, well, boom, like, okay, so those who are following laws, like they're actually mature. They're actually moving as adults in the world and in life. And all those who are not is like, I just think about there's so many of us that saying like, oh, I got this issue, I got that problem. And then you kind of put it in perspective like, oh, you're undeveloped or you're immature or, So I was like, okay. That was profound to hear it like that, you know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. One of the things I came to mind when you was talking about like following like natural order of things, and I thought about like growing and developing as you like having a head, right? Having that connection to a man in a way that's in order with the way we're supposed to be, interacting. It's like even that, if you're serious about like even that can pull you into a space of maturity if you allow it to. You know what I mean? Like you'll begin to think about, your ways and your actions or the way that you're thinking about things, or like, man, am I being a, little girl at this moment, or how am I relating to this man, or this my head, or I just thought about that, and I thought about how so many, of course, people outside of you are gonna like say like, no, you should be the independent woman, or you should be, you know what I mean,
Right.
like
Don't lose yourself.
you should worship you as a woman, and all just, all kind of stuff that goes against the way that we're really supposed to be. Oh, you don't need a child, you don't need, just go and get your money, chase the bag, and everything is about you, it's good, da 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 da. And it's like, man, if I'd listened to that, I probably wouldn't have been where I am now. And I probably wouldn't have anything to look forward to in terms of like the years to come. Like there's more maturity to come. And there's an excitement in it. It's
right.
it's an excitement to know like, oh, you got an opportunity to grow and mature.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and we understand we're going through a refinement process and being purified. And she has always said, like, I'm gonna destroy you. So you gotta be prepared to get your ego like whacked, beat, and like so
Yeah.
that gotta happen. That's what it is, you know. So I would say that's why it's so important to go through the process of self-assessment, being rooted in the laws from the Most High Yah. Yes, it's important to go through that self-assessment, but also when our head is given, like follow the instructions being given by your head, though. That's what you want to do, So as well, sometimes, yeah, we just need that guidance, you know.
Like having that, like listening to that one person that you won't be easily swayed. You know what I mean? When somebody else come and they're talking, because I remember one time I used to say, "Oh man, such and such said the same thing that you said. They say the same thing you said." She he be like, "They ain't saying the same thing I'm saying," and it took over time, like as you start maturing, you start to hear the difference, and you're like, yeah, when somebody comes to you with something that sounds like, it could have truth, or maybe it resonates. You hear the difference. It's like, I'm gonna stay over here. I'm not getting over here because you're saying something that sounds like something Chief might have said. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just think about being set apart and being able to develop that discernment. It sounds like you're talking about discernment. And that's what happens as a result of being, covered by a righteous head. So yeah.
we can't grow without a head. Yes, you want a head. Definitely want a head. So you say yes, Hoshi. As women, we can't grow without a head. Yeah.
Mhm.
Even that, I mean, even being able to accept a head, I think that's a level of maturity. To be receptive to that, that's a
Mhm.
level of maturity, you know.
That's a
Yeah,
good
we need
point.
that direction. We need that direction. Something you said earlier about, comments people made. I remember when we were studying, oh my gosh, Shahrazad Ali's work, and coming across one of the things she says, like in one of the later chapters, she was speaking about other women when you are directed covered. But she was speaking specifically to women who are married. She was saying that there are other women who would say things like, "You're losing yourself," or silly things like that. And it's from a place of jealousy. It's from a place of causing chaos or evil or crafting chaos, so to speak. Just to pull from one of the things that Chief mentioned today, that is, just a sign of immaturity. So I always think it's almost like I guess it's not a red flag in a sense. Once you hear people who you interact with begin to say things like that, that's a red flag. Next direction, you know.
Mhm.
It's just I can go as far to say it's just wicked. Like maybe those are the ones like what jealousy, not jealousy, they're just wicked. And sometimes or many times they're the ones that are just put here to just do those wicked things. Like that is the objective that they have. And we have to be able to discern and like suss them out and know like when to pass it on. Walk on by. If you see me walking down the street, just walk on by. One of those. We gotta be able to do that.
Concerning. That used to be a hard thing because I know for me, like, because I used to be like, I don't understand why are you doing this? Like, why would you do something like that? When people do stuff, is you just be like, why would you do that? But not
I,
realizing, like you said, like some people, that's what they were created to do, to just bring chaos.
mhm. Yeah. And some are just following what everybody else and I think it was even touched on today like, you know, there's a programming cuz and I can say this because I used to be a part of that and then you look back you're like, "Yo, why was I saying that?" And it's because like you're expected to, especially when you move in certain circles like you're expected to repeat the rhetoric even if it doesn't make sense. And then after a while you're like this is killing me inside like I'm this is
Yeah.
not right and this is not really what I think, I think I have to repeat this because the powers that be might cancel me or get rid of me. Like, but who said that they're any power? Only Yah is the power. So it's like it's that recognizing like what is more important and what is eternal rather than temporary. Because those thoughts and following the crowd and saying what you think you have to say, it will have you saying things like, I see a giraffe in front of me because you told me you're a giraffe when actually you are a female because you were born with ovaries and a uterus and you have the right chromosomes, or it will have me saying like, well, we need to support single mothers rather than families. We need like it'll be something like that. Like, and yeah, like yeah,
There,
yeah, that's
there,
it.
so there's in the Jezebel series, like Chief speaks about the Cretians, right? I think I'm going to actually read it's Titus 1:12. He speaks about the Cretians. It says the Cretians are always liars, evil beasts, slow bellies. And I actually had to go back to that during that section of the conversation around um being grounded in true principle and structure. Um, so we're expecting the world, which is created, it's a Christian world, created for that. Like that's what's happening out there in the world. That's the worldly wisdom, but that doesn't reflect the wisdom that's the internal wisdom. So I know that that's what's coming. Like if I'm walking out there, I expect that to be what is like the rhetoric or what people hold as their wisdom, because in truth it's not the wisdom that is a reflection of the soul or the most high. So to some degree, yeah, what we're given and what Chief is sharing is gems, is to help us decode and discern the difference between that spiritual wisdom and the principles and true structure versus what the world will give us, because it's
Yeah.
still some form of their truth, I guess you could label it that way. But yeah, we
Mhm.
see the difference. See
No,
the difference.
there is no their truth. You know, the truth is the truth. So every time somebody comes with me with that madness now, because I used to be like, yeah, well, that's your truth and you're valid and no, there's only truth. You can have your perspective. We all have our perspectives, but like truth is truth. It does not belong to you. It doesn't belong to me. It is what it is.
Mm.
Mm. Our new radio says, following the law clears out the static around what people say. Mm-hmm. It reminds
Yeah.
me of that. You'd be able to really flew with somebody saying, like, you speaking foolishness, you speaking nonsense. And
Mhm.
um, Messenger like said, there are several popular defective phrases that serve to strengthen the rebellious, independent woman narrative under the guise of advice.
Mm-hmm. And let me give you some advice, as a big sister, you can't give me nothing because sometimes you have to like even like I said, if they're not mated and they are, where they're not with this, that should just be even it. Then you should not be giving me advice. After a certain age, like you can be older than me, but if you have not gone through a certain volley of rites of passage, then there's nothing that you can give to me. And I think that goes into like being rooted into what our culture is. Like, am I gonna like force it onto you? No, but I'm gonna keep true to it for myself and know what to receive from the outside versus what is useful versus what is stay away from that. Don't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It seems like there's like a ciphering out of anything that just doesn't fit into this space. I think there was something that Chief talked about, like when you have those internal issues or things that are, like the jealousy or whatever the issue may be, like there's a moment where you do start to cipher out, even externally. But yeah, like I can't listen to you, or I don't want to take in what it is that you're saying because that doesn't fit in this space that I'm in right now. Or even if there's something inside of me, like it's like jealousy or whatever it is, it's like that doesn't fit in this space right now, in this community, in this decision that I've made to live out these laws. Like that doesn't fit. So it's like you got to figure it out and just get rid of it. How do I get rid of it? What tools do I need? You start eagerly like looking for those tools, actively working at it. So I thought about that. Like that's a level of maturity too.
Yeah. And I would even say, even being able to show it on the outside. So not just like, okay, well, this is what I do when if you do work, outside of the community, not just being like, well, this is what I do in my personal life or my personal time. It's like, no, this is what it is. And this is the line that should not be crossed or will not be crossed for me and for you.
Mhm.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. Right.
Matthew Mallet says so they can continue to choose their dysfunction whenever they're given the opportunity to self-reflect and change. Hmm.
Oh, sorry. I think it
You know,
was.
says OJ to Jupiter talks about them. Tell it. So I'm sorry. um, so after Hava says one of the things that stood out for me today is what happens inside of us redeems us. What happens outside of us destroys us. Let the law be, and that stood out for me as well. Yeah, because what's the improvement that's happening on the inside, it will come out. And she was saying the soul will burst out. I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's the part that hit me. It was like, you know, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Okay.
And
Right.
I was, I for a moment I paused and I said that, there is I guess there is a thought, a world of thought where people talk about just going in, and the just going in. I know it's not just going in without being led or being in alignment with the Most High. Not it's not monkey chatter. It's not like there's a difference. There's a separation between, oh, I'm going internal, and it's all about the intellectualizing or the monkey chatter and it's what I think, or also the seeing yourself in everything. So it's now the narcissist. So it's everything is about my way, me, how I want things to be. I think it was very crucial when he spoke about like that growth that happens internally and that bursting out. It's the soul coming out. So so there's a very big difference between it just being me versus it's the reflection of the soul that's actually coming through. That's what we're releasing. That's like liberation. I think that peace that you spoke about, Ima, that bursting through and it being connected to liberation, it kind of had my brain tingling, not kind of, it had my brain like tingling for a moment. Yeah, because I remember Chief speaks talking about liberation versus freedom a
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
And so it almost like it's coming full circle now where we have instruction on how to get to that, even more instruction, I should say, on how to get to that liberation. And it's, like really understanding is not just that obtainment or worldly attainment and things like that. It's not actually.
Yeah. I just this will be my last last point I'm gonna interject. But when you were sharing about the Most High, I just thought about like some may take it like, okay, well, I listen to my ancestors, I listen to my pastor, I listen to, you know, and it's like, okay, well, we understand that our head is the earthly representation of the Most High, so we listen to the representation because that's reflective of our relationship with the Most High in heaven. Our relationship with the, I don't know, but yeah,
Mhm.
that's all I want to add on.
I think Chief is a just I would say it, but it's like he's the best example, of like what to do. So it, it's like how can you not be around him and not want to mature? Because you do see how he moves and operates and the effect that he has on not just people but just in the world in general. Like, so it's like you're looking at him as your head and you're like, okay, I'm the body, so I need to be on it too. So it's just like another push towards that maturing. Like, you say maturing, but you can call it even leveling up. Like, because you it's like that's the best example. Like, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah, definitely. Because it's like you become uncomfortable. It's like I don't feel comfortable like staying the same because yeah, like I'm not, yeah, that's, mm-mm. You kind of know, like I step it up if I want to stay around, if I want to, add value, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see.
Oh,
Anything else?
that's it.
I
Saba says yes. So
We definitely appreciate everybody joining us. We know this was last, but we appreciate it. So, follow the House of Yuya channel, subscribe, like. I know we on our New Life Global, but yeah, we had some technical difficulties, but subscribe to the channel for more content. Did anybody have any final words or before we close out?
I thought I saw a question. Maybe y'all answered it when I glitched out. Jason had a question. I think it was a question, but I didn't see that it was answered in the chat about
Okay.
the elder versus older.
Let's see.
The grapes. Does the grape natural and have a seed, or is it natural with no seed? Because he corrected no seed and wicked, separating an elder from an older. Can it produce anything?
Well, I don't think you. I think she spoke about like you can't produce anything like if you don't have a seed.
Seeds, right?
President is
Yeah.
I guess like when he talked about like eating like how if you eat fruits that don't have the seed in it and it actually it messes up your internal like it makes you sick. So it's
The
like it's not it's not bearing like you're not getting the spirit of that thing. Like you're
right,
not
right.
Yeah,
There's nothing in it. There's no nutrients, but then it's also, but then what it is imbued with is whatever wickedness created it. Because if it's against what was natural and created by Yah, and then even if we're ingesting it, then all of it just yields nothing. So no, you don't produce anything. Seedless fruit can't produce anything. Like, and it shows they have to be created in a lab.
yeah. Yeah.
I guess the last thing that I would share is probably the first thing that I kind of started off with. And I'll do it in the way I can't do it the way Chief did because that's cheap. But what I got from it was sacred geometry, maturity, do things the right way, gain wisdom, happiness.
yeah.
With the right
Y'all ain't gonna get no spam though. No, we didn't get no spam. We didn't get no.
Yeah.
And
So
over here.
if Chief came like we probably would, you know, if he was to hop on the line, probably would. But
That was a good call.
fire, he's spitting on the fire.
Good one. That
thank
was a
you. Thank you for joining, everyone. All right, don't head on out. Oh,
Oh.
Wait a
yeah.
minute.
Oh.
We got one follower that came in that might be the spam as soon as he hit
Okay.
He said, "Oh, the sacred inner law, the universal geometry. If you do not engage with that, you will only grow bent towards wickedness. No seed means your instruction comes from outside evil."
Yeah. See, so it's like think about how many times we've been taking advice from Oprah and the Oprahs and the Bill Gates and the whoever else. Beyonce, it was like outside they probably ain't bearing right. So,
Yeah.
And they the ones making the fake seed, making these fake fruit seed things. So what does that tell you? Wicked.
wicked.
Exactly.
All right. Peace, everyone.
Thanks for
Peace.
joining.
Yeah, good thanks for joining.
Thanks for inviting us. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks for riding the wave with us. If you like that episode, catch some of our previous Sabbath Insights. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel and catch Chief Yuya live every Sabbath. Only on House of Yuya.
Do you wanna be